Welcome back, my friend, to this series on the Apostolate of the Laity. We are 7 episodes deep, and today we talk about how to intentionally and practically make apostolate a high priority, regular activity in your life that is scheduled into your daily and weekly routine, and in a way where it's not just work, but might just be the best part of your week. That's the plan for today. This is a little bit of a logistics episode, but also a sort of mental reframe episode of apostolate is worth my time, and I'm going to make sure it's part of my time on a day-to-day basis. Again, kind of stepping back as the backdrop for this, we've been talking about apostolate, which is any activity oriented towards the spreading of the kingdom of Christ throughout the earth so that all men may know his saving redemption, and particularly what that looks like for us as normal lay people. And we've been going through this 4-step framework, this OCIA acronym, on how to set up your own personal apostolate. Past 2 episodes, we talked about the O, or the offer, and that God is speaking a word through you, and how do you proclaim the gospel with your life testimony, with that word that he's speaking through you. Last episode, we talked about charisms. It's a long episode. You should go back and look through that, because a lot of that can directly apply to this episode today, as charisms are sort of how does that word that God is speaking through you take flesh in a particular charism or gifting of the Holy Spirit in and through you. And today we're sort of talking about how does that word and that charism have practical application in some sort of intentional forum scheduled into your week. And like the when, the where, the how, the logistics and practicality of it is what we're talking about today, which I think is very important, because for some people, maybe the use of your charisms or this gospel overflow is very natural to you. And I think probably the deeper that one falls in love with Jesus, the longer that one is devoutly Catholic, the more natural it is to just kind of share the faith and to live the faith externally and to engage apostolate. It's just like a very normal and exciting thing. Generally, though, it's not like an automatic thing, especially to very intentionally engage apostolate. Like, it's not like this podcast series I'm doing just happened in my sleep and then I woke up and said, oh, sick, I've got a podcast to upload online. No, I mean, oftentimes this takes some amount of intentionality, scheduling it in, deciding to do something, and then figuring out how am I going to do that? What do I need? When am I going to do it? Some of the logistics and practicals. It's deciding that apostolate is good, it's necessary, it's possible and effective, and so it's worth my time, so I got to schedule it in and make it a priority. So that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. How do you get to that point? Because the necessary step might be that you got to carve out space to be very intentional about doing apostolate. If what we've been talking about has been getting you fired up, like seems like a good thing to do, then how do you make sure that it is part of your day? I think the first step is that mental reframe. So the first thing probably is to be able to get to a place where you can say apostolate is good. Like, it is a good thing to do apostolate. And the question there is basically just, do you believe that the gospel is the best way to live? It is the greatest story of all time, that life with Jesus Christ is the only one and true way? Because, I mean, Jesus said it himself. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that's actually a very provocative thing. And this is part of the reason I think a lot of people don't engage apostolate, is because the basic offer that the gospel has that is sort of confrontational to other people, as Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, the life, and there is no other way that is right or true. Every other way is less than or wrong. So do you actually believe that? And if so, then apostolate is very good, because I'm telling other people about the best possible way to live. And if it is good, then it's also sort of necessary, because there are people who don't know that. If you do know that this is the greatest possible way to live, best story of all time, the way that Jesus laid out for us, and you're living it, then it is necessary to tell other people. It's part of what it means to be Christian, because Jesus told us to do this. He gave us his great commission. He told us to go make disciples of all nations, to proclaim the gospel to all creation. And there are people who still don't know it. So not only is it good, not only is it necessary, but the other mental reframe is to be able to say apostolate is not just good, it's not just necessary, but it is possible and it is effective. To be able to say, like, I can do it. Like, when I do it, it might actually make some impact on people. Because I think often, maybe if you are in the place where, like, I think, actually sharing the gospel would be a good thing, and I can see that Jesus invited us to do it, but I feel like I don't know enough. I feel like if I tried, I can't actually change people. Or maybe even I feel like people don't want to be changed. And actually, that last one, there's some of that's probably true. There are probably people who, hard as we try, are just never going to get it and will be hard-hearted. And Jesus tells the apostles in the Gospels to shake the dust off your feet in testimony against them. And we don't need to be hung up on those people, because there are people with fertile soil in their hearts ready to receive the seed of the gospel. And we are the ones that he has sent. And God is the one who is doing this. For us to say, I don't know enough, I can't change people, that's quite all right, because we're not the one who changed people anyways. God is the one who does this. He has given you his Holy Spirit. That's what we've been talking about here, like charisms and all this. It is the work of the Holy Spirit in and through you. It's not it's not your doing anyways. We're just the ones who are saying, yeah, I'm willing to go, Lord. Lord, use me. Send me, and I'll let you work in and through me. But part of this too, the ability to say, is it possible? Is it effective? Am I willing to go and do it? Maybe often looks like the framework that I like to call the limiting factors paradigm, which is basically everyone has dreams, goals, ideals, things that they would love to do or engage or be, but everyone has just as many or more limiting factors. It often looks like someone who says, I want blank, but blank. I want dream, goal, ideal, thing that sounds good, but some kind of limiting factor that gets in my way and prevents me from doing it. And I think the limiting factors paradigm, when I propose, is that actually almost every single one of those limiting factors that you could come up with are actually overcomable, because they come down to 5 different categories, and only one of them is actually non-overcomable, which would be fixed biological realities. Like, for example, if I was a dude and I had a crazy ambition to be pregnant and have a baby in my belly, just fixed biological reality, that's never going to happen. But outside of stuff like that, there are 4 other categories that every other limiting factor falls into. It's environment, competence, finances, or personal choice. So, I don't know, for example, like if we're talking about apostolate, like I want to, it seems like it's a good thing to share the faith, but maybe it's something environmental, like the people around me kind of hold me back. The space I'm in is like super non-Catholic, so I'd be like really harshly persecuted. I mean, some of that is just like, you could go somewhere else. You could be with different people, or you could just be bold enough to share the faith with those people despite it and be persecuted for it and give glory to God in the midst of that harsh environment. Environment is not a deterrent. Jesus sent the apostles like sheep among wolves, he said, and maybe so he is sending you. The second one would be competence, which is basically I don't know enough. And the reality is, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're well on your way. Hopefully, we're giving you exactly the tools that you need. Competence need not be an issue, because all you need to do is learn more. And hopefully we're giving you exactly the practical tools you need, so competence is not a limiting factor here. Finances, if you were to say, I want to share the faith, but it's going to cost me a lot of money, that's just absolutely silly. When Jesus sends out the apostles, he tells them to take no money bag, no sack, no sandals, no second tunic, to be totally dependent on the Lord, and always to live poor. I mean, you look at religious brothers and sisters, priests and nuns and monks, and people who are just like full-time, live the faith very publicly, take like vows of poverty. Like it doesn't take a lot of money. No way finances is a limiting factor. The only other one would be personal choice. And we'll get into that in a minute. But basically, like if we can overcome any of these limiting factors, and we say that apostolate is good, I know it's good, it seems like it's a necessary thing because people don't know the gospel, and it is good for them to know the gospel. And I do actually believe that God could and wants to work in and through me, and that it would be effective. then I think it is worthwhile. And maybe this is a very good use of my time, so I should prioritize this. That's sort of the mental reframe. Hopefully that you're feeling right now, like, yeah, this is worthwhile. This is a good use of my time, so I should prioritize this. So then we can hopefully shift from mental reframe to physical reframe of prioritizing. How do I prioritize this? And often this looks like time, energy, resources. But prioritization is the process of cutting things out, saying no to certain things to say yes to other things. That is what it means to prioritize. Prioritize means I am willing to cut other things out. So if you are to say, like, I want to do apostolate, to share the faith, but I can't cut out any other stuff. I have too much other things going on. My time is so stretched. Really saying I can't cut out other things, you're actually saying I'm unwilling to cut out other things. Because truthfully, there are probably many things that you have chosen or that are realities that could be changed, and you have made a personal choice to live your life in a certain way. Like, really, would you die if you cut out those other things? Probably not. Probably certain things like eating, sleeping, take care of just very necessary biological realities. Outside of those things, it is a matter of personal choice. That is the limiting factor. To say I can't cut out other things means I am unwilling to cut out other things. So if this is something that is worthwhile, if sharing the faith, if apostolate is worthwhile, then you got to be willing to prioritize. And it is this process of cutting things out. And if that makes you say, okay, yeah, I am willing to cut other things out, I just don't know what to cut out, then I have a tool very specific for this. I call it the Abundant Life Roadmap. This is something that I do on a seasonal basis. There'll be a link for it in the description of this. But basically, it's just like a PDF that I have sort of these 9 categories that I kind of look at, assess my life. Like, okay, what am I putting my time, energy, and effort into in terms of physical health, mental health, spiritual health, work, play, friendship, stewardship, vocation, and mission. I think those are the categories off the top of my head. But it's the process of assessing each category of my life, saying, what am I actually prioritizing? What are my ideals in these places? And then deciding, okay, which of these gets to be top priority right now? And then you can actively say, okay, I've been prioritizing this, but I'm actually going to take a step back from this and choose this. So again, the Abundant Life Roadmap, if you want to go through that, which is a PDF link in the description down below. But we got to prioritize it. Like this is the reality. If you want to make apostolates, if it sounds like Jesus Christ has called us to do this, it's a good thing, I'm fired up about it, then we gotta make the decision to prioritize, which probably means cutting other things out. And the promise of that, hopefully, is this something that's actually very life-giving. It's very purposeful. It's the best possible use of your time that you could give. So why not? Cut other things out. Be bold for Jesus Christ. Prioritize your time. Probably what this means most specifically is just making calendar space. Like deciding on this day of the week or on this day of the month or this time every day, I'm going to do this very specific thing. To actually schedule it in, make calendar space. To do what, though? What am I making calendar space for? Again, what we've been going through, this OCIA framework, last few episodes, talked about the offer. You add on to the offer the charism. And now, in this third section, we're talking about sort of the practical application of, okay, so say I know how to proclaim the gospel, what word I want to speak to people. I know my particular charism, the way that word takes flesh. But then, like, what am I actually going to do? Because I could apply that charism in many different ways. So here's sort of 2 questions to ask. Is number 1, what is the opportune forum? What is, in terms of practical application, what is the opportune forum or place or mode? Because, for example, this podcast, this video series, Like, my word is the Great Commission to tell people that Jesus has called us to proclaim the gospel to all creation. And I know that one of my charisms is teaching. So what's the opportune forum to do that? I guess I could just go stand in the street and just yell at people, but that doesn't seem like the best way. I could, I don't know, go get a day job that I do this, and I do indeed have a day job where I do specifically this. But another opportune form is online. There are people online who watch videos, listen to podcasts, who could use this information. Seems like an opportune place to go and do it, a practical application. Another example, say you got a writing charism. What you could do is you could write poetry and leave it on your neighbor's doorstep every day. Maybe that's not the best way to do it. You could otherwise, I don't know, start up a blog. You could write a book. You can make social media posts. Like, where are the people who need this? Where's the opportune place to do it? So you have a mercy charism. You just really love caring for the poor, the sick, the homeless, the needy, and stuff like that. Could you go to a wealthy neighborhood? You could, but you would probably not be very fulfilled. You'd probably not have much opportunity. Rather than if you otherwise went to like a big city in a downtown area where people are really struggling. You got a hospitality charism. You got a studio apartment where you live in. Is that going to be the best place? You probably think like, no, I can't host anyone because I have this studio apartment that's like super small and I can have like 3 people in my room. Maybe you could find someone who has a space. Where's an opportunity, an event that's already going on where you say, hey, I would love to be the hospitality person for this event. I'll bring the food, I'll decorate the space. I might not have the space, but there's an opportune forum in someone else's space that you could use your hospitality charism for. What's the place, the mode, the forum where there is opportunity, where people need it, and it could make the most impact? That's the first question. And the second question, which I sort of actually prefer, is just simply, what do you like to do? Because part of what apostolate comes down to is apostolate cannot be coerced. It should not and cannot be forced compulsion, because forced compulsion is not charity. Apostolate must be this autoregenerative love, this gospel overflow. St. Paul says if we do not have love, or a clashing gong and a clanging cymbal, or whatever he says, it should be this like something that I actually enjoy. It shouldn't be just like work to me. It should be something that I enjoy. And if so, then the promise here is that apostolate can be the best part of your week. It should be something that you actually enjoy anyways. So to find something you enjoy and apply your charisms to it is actually a super effective way to do apostolate. So as an example, the content that I'm putting out in this podcast and video series, I try to condense down into, I have run 2 different young adult events in the place where I live. I just called it Commission, and specifically invited a bunch of my young adult friends, invite them just to come hang out. And then for like 15, 20 minutes, I'm gonna do a little bit of apostolate formation. We're gonna pray together. But otherwise, we're gonna come hang out, have a lot of food, spend time together, have a bonfire. Because I like hanging out with people on a Friday night, eating food, having a bonfire. And within that context, just slip in a little apostolate formation. Or maybe you're, you have a music charism. You love music. So just invite people to come sing and play music and pray with them in doing that. Or it could be like much more charism or gospel adjacent. Like you like playing, sand volleyball, and you have an evangelization charism. Just invite a bunch of people to go play sand volleyball and have a lot of fun, and just like be a great witness of the faith and just ask people about how their faith life is going. Like it can be that simple. A great example of this is Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, who's going to be canonized a saint here very soon. A classic example is he'd invite his friends to go play pool, just like shoot pool at the local bar, and because he enjoyed playing pool and he was actually very good at playing pool. So he would invite people to come play pool, and then he would say, hey, if I beat you, you have to go to mass with me. You have to go to adoration with me. And he would often win. And it was an effective way to bring people into the faith just by going to play pool and hanging out and doing something that he enjoyed anyways. So what do you like to do? Just find something that you enjoy anyways and apply the offer, the proclamation of the gospel and the charisms that you have, and it can become actually a very effective apostolate, and it can be the best part of your week. Then, of course, the next step of this is like, okay, well, once we've applied this, then who am I inviting? Who am I involving? Who am I doing this for? That's what we're going to talk about next week in the last of the 4 letters of audience. Who is this for? But today, just pick something you like to do anyways. That would be an opportune forum to engage and impact people, and prioritize it by scheduling it into your week, cutting other things out. Because if you say, I can't cut it out, you're just unwilling to cut it out. It is very possible to do so. Just lastly, like a few last practical tips on this is, number 1, apostolate need not be expensive. Again, we said this earlier, but you don't have to impress anyone by just like spending a whole lot of money in doing this. I actually fall into this every so often. If I'm like hosting events, I'm like, we gotta have the nicest stuff here. Like, that doesn't really matter. The gospel is, if Jesus sent out the apostles with no money bag, no sack, no sandals, no second tunic, very poor, and they were still highly effective, the gospel need not be expensive. And part of that too, second one would be just apostolate need not be perfect. Like, if one of the things that maybe would hold you back is like, well, I just don't have like the perfect, for example, if I have a handful of people who I've talked to about like, you could start making social media content to share your faith if you're interested in that. And I say, well, I don't really have a camera. I don't have audio equipment or something like that. Like, it does not need to be perfect. You don't need to have the perfect setup, the perfect resources. There's a lot of people who I encourage, like, just invite other people over for dinner. Do you like having dinner with people? That's a super easy way to do it. And I think often, especially young families, will have the concern of like, well, our house is not very put together. It's messy. The kids are running around. It doesn't need to be perfect. Authenticity is actually excellent for apostolate. Just be real. It doesn't have to be perfect. A third tip would be, again, do something that you would enjoy, even if it impacts nobody. Even if nobody comes, no one engages with it, it makes zero impact, because then what? At least you tried, and you enjoyed it while you tried, so that it's a no-loss situation. Like, I don't know, the other day, literally, I just went out and sat in my yard and started up a fire because I wanted to just like sit by the fire, invited a bunch of people to come over. No one came over. I literally sent a bunch of invites and not a single person came. But I just enjoyed sitting by the fire. There was no loss there. Like, there's nothing to lose if it's just something you would enjoy doing anyway. So pick stuff like that. And lastly, the last tip, and again, next week we're going to talk much more about making those invites and what it would be. But if you're going to start making invites after listening to this, is to go personal and be very intentional instead of going broad. Often we want to start up like a big event, make posters and flyers, invite out, just like broadly, spread out everywhere. Just start small. Start with like 1 or 2 people that you think this would benefit, that you would enjoy being with. Just go from there. Like, be very personal and intentional and start from there. And the last thing I want to say is this also totally varies based on charisms. Like, the practical application of the different 22 charisms looks widely different. Like, you could be, if you have a hospitality charism, you decide to host this big event. Or if you have an intercession charism, you decide to just go spend time in silence in intercessory prayer as your apostolate very intentionally. Or you have an encouragement charism and you decide, I'm going to set up one-on-one meetings for coffee with people once or twice a week. Or you have an administration charism and you say, I'm going to be a project manager for something at my parish. Or you have a knowledge charism and you decide, I'm going to put together a Catholic resource database and I'm going to do that every Monday, every week. Like, it could look so different for different people and levels of relationality and levels of like resource involvement. So part of this is just sort of providing general advice and practicals for this. But really, it can get and sort of needs to get much more specific based on charism. So, as the last call to action here, is if you have been listening to this podcast and this has really been firing you up and you want to actually begin and initiate and engage a personal apostolate, and you want a little more practical guidance on this, send me an email. My email will be in the description of this. And I would love for you just to reach out and we can talk through based on your specific charisms, based on the specific things that you are thinking, your gifts, talents, abilities, experience, the people in your environment. What can this look like more specifically for you? Just send me a message. If you're one of my college students listening to this, we're going to talk about this anyways. You don't have to reach out to me. But anyone who is listening to this and you want more, how do we put this into practice? If you're locked in, because my hope is that you're not just listening to this, but that you're hopefully trying to put this into practice, send me an email. Love to talk about it. Because hopefully what we're doing, especially after this episode today, is begin to create an intentional plan to, 1, convey your offer, 2, using your charisms, 3, in a specific time and place. Prioritize this. That apostolate is good. It is necessary. It is possible and effective in making change. And so it is a very worthwhile and good use of time. So let's make apostolate a priority, make a practical, intentional plan to make it happen, and just get after it.